It was in 1916 that the Dada movement rose up against World War I. For most people, Dadaism is associated with nihilism. I should say no to that. Dadaism was the rage that was boiling within people against the values or even the existing civilization which had proven themselves to be wrong by bringing World War I as an upshot. Dadaism is a quest for change. Although Dadaism wasn't so much the path to a new culture, it was a tool that could make the emergence of a new path to new values possible. Dadaism didn't contain any values in itself, and if anything, it was against every existing value and rule, hence its association with nihilism. Previously, I've talked about how existentialism emerged after World War II as a movement and not a series of doctrines as an answer to the absurdity of life. This is comparable to the Dada movement. A few artists such as Hugo Ball, Janko, Jean Arp, Tzara, and many others who were disgusted by the war moved to Zurich and founded the movement. They thought what had made the war happen were the old values. That's why, unlike what you see in other movements, every Dadaist mostly tries to question every value rather than create it. Creation isn't the primary goal of Dadaism. Dadaism wasn't about art and being all artistic. It's merely an art movement. It's not really art. Being free of any rules is what made it vulnerable to become accused of nihilism, but it was devoid of rules for good reasons. Its very nature was questioning and objecting the already existing values in order to overcome them. You could even say Dadaism was the Socrates of the war years. It is as if though Nietzsche had written these words to describe the movement. Whom do they hate most? Him who breaks up their tables of values, the breaker, the lawbreaker. He, however, is the creator. Just as existentialism forces you to become who you are and not to accept what others impose on you, Dadaism pushes you towards questioning the values which others have created. Hugo Ball in his manifesto writes, "How can one get rid of everything that smacks of journalism, worms, everything nice and right, blinkered, moralistic, europeanized, enervated, by saying Dada?" So here, he's offering Dadaism as a way of becoming free of everything. Here is your chance to make your own values. He's seeking for a world that belongs to him. He writes, "I don't want words that other people have invented." And later he adds, "Why can't a tree be called Pluplusch and Pluplubasch when it has been raining?" It's only this kind of thinking that can make you eventually free of old traditions and values. I don't want words that other people have invented. It seems to me he wanted to say, I don't want values that other people have invented. Think of something like Marcel Duchamp's or Jean Arp's so-called artworks. If you're someone living at that time, you'd stand in front of such a work and ask yourself, is that really art? As soon as this question occurs to you, the path will be free for asking, if it is indeed art, what kind of art is it? Here you're thinking of a possibility that would question everything as you know it. No matter what your answer is, you're facing a question that might very well destroy the basis of all the values you know. That would mean everything as you know it isn't entirely true anymore. I would argue, just as existentialism doesn't correspond to nihilism, Dadaism and nihilism have nothing to do with each other. Both are fed up with everyday life and its arbitrary values, and that's where the similarity stops. Dadaism wasn't an existential or a nihilistic movement. It was only a response to World War I, just as existentialism was a response to World War II. Just as an absurdist would recognize the absurdity of life and embrace it, Tzara writes, "The absurd doesn't frighten me, because from a more elevated point of view, I consider everything in life to be absurd.